All right, day 8. Lamar Jackson's number 8 playoff game. This is not about any of that, but I hope the Ravens win today. Today, I thought I would talk about my granny and how she got me to hate being a Christian and Christians overall. It's not entirely her fault, but the reason why I have such dislike for many Christians is because of her. I guess I should start from the beginning. When I was starting school and my mom and dad were deciding where I should go to school at, there were, I guess, two options. Either a public school, which most kids went to, or a Christian school. And of course, my granny had to have a decision in that. My granny is my dad's mother, and I unfortunately went to the Christian school. Now, my granny, she wasn't a good person, if you ask me. I don't believe she was a good person. I think many people who known her and fell for the Christian act thought she was a good person. But over time and just being around her a lot, it was hard to be around her. It was hard to love her because she made it hard. And when I was 4, I went to a Christian school. I went to a private Christian school. It was a school and a daycare. So I went there from pre-K to around 4th grade. So like 4th grade was the last year I went. And my time there wasn't the worst, but the education there was below subpar what it needed to be. Given all that, I was around my granny quite a bit, not as much as maybe you think, but I was around her quite a bit. And I was also around a lot of Christians and, just around a lot of Christian imagery. And I had no break from it, first of all. I had no break from Sunday to Friday, going to church, going to Christian school, and sometimes Bible study. So the only day off I got from being around God was Saturday. But when I was around my granny and I had to, go visit her and do all that shit, she would never make me feel good about myself. And at the time, as a child, being baptized was very important to my granny. And she was one of those people where if you weren't saved, she thought you were going to hell, like many Christians do. And she had no problem reminding me every chance I got, sinners go to hell, you were born a sinner. It just all of this bullshit, honestly. And from ever since I can remember, my granny would always ask me if I was baptized. And every time I would say no. I would tell her I'm not baptized. And then she would do what she always does. She would break down crying, crocodile tears, say that I need to get saved if I don't want to go to hell. It doesn't matter if I'm a good person or not. If you don't get saved, you're going to hell. And she would just say this so much. And it got to a point where I started feeling bad for not getting saved. But as a child, I didn't understand. I just didn't understand why I would be going to hell, essentially, even though I'm a good person. I didn't do anything bad. I didn't think I was a bad person, but not being saved was the biggest sin you could do, or the biggest sin you could commit, being someone who I guess is a Christian and hasn't done it yet. But she would not stop. My granny was a super religious woman. And when I say she was a super religious woman, she would not wear pants. I remember her asking about basketball one time, and I asked her if she was a Kentucky Wildcats fan. I live in the state of Kentucky, and that's where my family is at. And she said, and I guess it's not a direct quote, but she could not cheer for anyone else because she would be giving more of her love and attention to them over God and Apparently God told her that's not what you're supposed to do. So she would not like cheer for sports, or I don't know, just things that like give you excitement as a person. If you like watching other things and other people compete, she wouldn't do that because she thinks like she would be giving more of her attention and time to that over God, and God would be upset with her. She thinks Halloween is the devil. She's one of those people like, oh, Halloween's the night where all the devils come out and people dressing up is sinful and shit like that. Let's see, what else? She didn't like rap music. She thought rap music was bad. I know she got on me one time for listening to rap. She was just a very crazy and stupid person. I'll just put it like that. And over the years, as I got older, I visit her less and less. I would still try because, you know, she's my granny. But it just, I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way how she, you know, would be nice and then have this like nice persona. And then just like, well, if you're not a Christian, you know, she'd ask me every time, have you been baptized yet? Have you been saved yet? And I'd tell her no, because I didn't want to lie to my granny. But every time I told her no, she would start crying, start breaking down. She would always bring up my dad because my dad died when I was 4. She said, you want to go to heaven with your dad? You don't want to go to hell. Just do shit like that and gaslight me. And it got to a point where I think around high school, maybe like sophomore year, I just like stopped visiting her altogether because she would just make me feel bad about myself. She would just make me feel bad about not getting saved. And when I was younger, when I went to church, I never understood, you know, the spirit and it like getting like God coming down and all that shit. Like I remember sitting at church just thinking like all these other people like believe in God so much, and I never got it. I didn't understand why God couldn't just come down and just beam me with like Christianity or whatever. And I think that was the reason I was just a little hesitant, but it just never stuck with me. Like now that I'm older, I get it. You know, Christianity is for, you know, I'm trying to be nice about it, but I guess I should be blunt. Kind of, for a lot of people, it's more for community than anything else. But for like some people, it's really for the stupid, and it's a good way to keep them in line. But I never understood, and I would sit at church every Sunday when I'd go with my grandmother, not my granny, my grandmother on my mom's side. And then there's my granny on my dad's side who was super religious. My grandmother was like a normal Christian. I think she probably asked me about baptism maybe once or twice, but she didn't really care. And I'd go to church with her every Sunday. But you know, just being around other Christians just made me feel bad about myself at the time because I didn't feel like I was a good enough person as a child, like learning and navigating the world. And it was, I you know, whenever I hear someone say they're a Christian or, you know, like an athlete thanks God, I roll my eyes because I just think it's such bullshit. Like, why would God be concerned about someone who's already doing well and is already happy versus like a bunch of his followers who are doing terribly? And a lot of people who go to church are not the wealthiest people, but they need God's energy, magic, Holy Spirit, whatever, more than a lot of you rich motherfuckers who believe in God. But yet, every time there's something good happening, I gotta thank God. Let me thank God. God was here. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And no one will ever say what it really means. They'll just give you such vague bullshit, and you gotta interpret it whatever way. But I think just my granny constantly telling me I'm going to hell because I didn't get dipped in some fucking tap water, being around other Christians. I remember one time at church, this was after Sunday school, but before service, I was talking to one of my older cousins who, he had a kid as well, and he was a minister at the time. And he asked me if I'd been baptized yet. I told him no. And then he said, oh, I'm surprised. Like, I wouldn't have thought you weren't baptized. So later on during church and church service, he goes up and begins speaking. He's a minister. So he begins speaking, and he's yapping on and on and on. And then the one moment I really remember that stood out to me was everyone was like shouting, oh, and he's like, looked around and said, I don't know one person in here that's not baptized, and looked directly at me while saying that and smiling too. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? I just told you I wasn't baptized like an hour ago. Like, why are you up here saying this shit? And he was preaching on and on and on. But that moment really broke me right there, because like, even your own family will just go up there and lie for no reason in the name of God too, in the name of God. And I just, that really hurt me. That is one of my radicalization moments. And he's passed away, like I think like recently, like last year or so. So is my granny. And like if my granny was still alive and I told her I didn't believe in God, like I was, I wouldn't call myself an atheist, but a secular person, like she would absolutely disown me. She would 1,000,000% disown me as her grandson. Like I'm for sure of it. And, I kind of wish I told her on her deathbed, but I didn't really get that opportunity alone to do it. But, every time I hear someone say they're a Christian, I can't help but to roll my eyes. And depending on how religious they are, I don't think every Christian is God, 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 God. But being around a lot of them and seeing how fake they can be, and seeing how just dishonest and disingenuous, and then they try to say it's in the name of God, or I want you to, I want you to get saved, I want you to be a better person. Like you don't care. You don't care one bit. And it is so dishonest. But yeah, that's my video. The reason why I hate that, just Christianity in general, religion in a bigger scale. It controls people. It controls the stupid very well, like to a T. Like if you are like on your last dollar, you'll have a preacher come up to you, hey, come to church. You just need to believe in God. You just need to have faith in the Lord. Like that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. Because what does that mean? What does having faith in the Lord mean? What does it mean? Does it mean anything? Like as someone who is, I wish my life was better. Like if I started believing in God right now, my life isn't going to get any better. My life will not get any better. But there will be pastors and there will be regular everyday people just say, you need to have faith in God. You just need to believe in God. There's millions of people in this country that believe in God, and their life has not improved a single bit. And you'll have people who are also in the same positions with them, are in the same positions as them, tell them that they need to believe in God. Things will just magically get better. But yeah, that's day 8. That's me shitting on my granny and some of my family, I guess. I'm not even going to say I'm going to stream and do this and do that, but there will be a video tomorrow. I need to get back on my schedule of daily videos. Took a couple day break just for no reason, just because I'm a lazy piece of shit. But yeah, don't believe in God, because he ain't real.